This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya, from the Fort Hall School of Government. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you may have missed this morning. But we also take a look at some of the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 5th of August, 2022, and I am 2M.
And I am GK.
And I am JM. In case you missed the headlines this morning, here they are in the Daily Nation. Register behind the fight. The Standard, inside the last 48 hours. In the Star, Raila and Uhuru attack RUTO over rigging claim. And in the People Daily, IEBC must use manual vote list. Let me kick us off. In the 36 Stratagems of War, a collection of warfare wisdom that was derived over many centuries of interstate conflict within China. Strategy number 30, known as the turning the role of the guest into that of the host, is a role reversal stratagem, and it seeks to usurp power from the opponent. It is one of the most lethal but yet effective modes of deception and winning battles. How does it work? The host shows the guest to a place at the dining table, arranges for the food to be served, then finally makes it clear that they can leave. The guest stands for the passive subordinate party and the host for the active superior one. In Chinese military terminology, the side which fights on their own land is the host, and the other force is the guest. The guest may be a stronger force invited by a supportive ally.
Right.
It may also be a weaker supplicant or an obvious or subtle invader. The typical strategy is for the host to attack the guest's logistics while the guest attacks the headquarters of the host. Now, let me put this into context. This whole strategy is precisely what William RUTO used on Uhuru Kenyatta in 2017. He made it easy to join, for him to join, for Uhuru to join the Jubilee Party, but it made it hard for Uhuru to leave the Jubilee Party. As soon as they collapsed their parties, the URP and the TNA parties, to form the Jubilee Party, William RUTO forced Uhuru's hand. Since if Uhuru bolted and said he did not support William RUTO, then he would walk away from the party. But if he did, he would leave its constituents intact with RUTO. And that is how Uhuru, who was seated at the head of the table, was then dislodged by RUTO. But Uhuru is now reversing this trend. How? Through the handshake. Sure enough, in 2018, March, he achieved and he did an alliance with Raila, who was a more powerful adversary than RUTO. And today, RUTO, who had pulled a coup in Jubilee back in 2017, has now been made a guest once again in his own Jubilee Party. He is left with only 2/3 of the party and 2/3 of the central Kenya population. Yes, it is a substantial lot, but it is not enough to get him to State House next week. In his press conference yesterday, William RUTO, you could see a role reverse, sort of role reversal between him and Raila. In 2017, it was Raila who claimed that Matiang'i is holding secret meetings with county commissioners and chiefs to rig the elections. In 2017, RUTO told us mzee akitendawili awachane na Matiang'i, anashindana na mimi na Uhuru. Yesterday, RUTO told us Matiang'i is holding secret meetings with county commissioners and chiefs to rig the elections. Today, Raila told us RUTO awachane na Matiang'i, anashindana na mimi na nani na Martha Karua. That is what you call role reversal. William RUTO, who was once the host in the Jubilee Party, who was once the big shot in government, has now been relegated to the role of a guest in his own party and in his own government. Role reversal.
I love it.
From host to guest.
And I just want to comment and say that RUTO's presser, just like the tears of this week, was choreographed. And for a moment, he looked like a man genuinely bothered by a rigged election. But then I immediately remembered how he mysteriously knew that the IEBC vote register had 1 million voters missing, even before the KPMG audit came out yesterday or a few days ago. Maybe he can tell us more about the 14 people with access to our data in IEBC. Now, aside from Ruto's attempt to distract us, the numbers surely won't lie next week. As the tally happens, I will be paying close attention to a requirement outlined in Article 138(4)(b) of the Constitution.
Yeah.
And it reads that to win in the first round, a candidate must receive at least 25% of the vote in a minimum of 24 of the 47 counties. Now, Raila has always demonstrated a broad-based appeal. His vote base goes beyond the two tribes, after all.
Yeah.
And he has been able to meet this threshold, whether his running mate was Mudavadi or Kalonzo. Now, this snapshot of the 2013 and 2017 elections demonstrates the ease with which he has been able to garner over 25% in about 30 counties.
Yeah.
And because Ruto has never run on his own merit, we have deduced that the following is a snapshot of his 17 stronghold counties that Ruto is likely to get. So based on this, it is traditional Kalenjin vote block and the Gema counties. However, his journey to gain 7 more counties and meet the 24 county threshold remains uncertain. Now, as the saying goes, you can never foretell what any one man will do, but you can say with precision what an average number will be up to.
Yes.
Individuals vary, but percentages remain constant.
Absolutely.
Right.
And in this case, Raila has the percentages that we can use to forecast this. Now, this is important because a single vote can make all the difference to the overall presidential arithmetic. If you think that one vote doesn't make a difference, then you couldn't be more wrong. There have been many instances in history where everything came down to that one vote. During the 2004 Karnataka Assembly elections in India, a man named Krishna Murthy became the first person to lose elections by one vote. Ironically, his driver could not cast his vote as he was not given permission by his boss, Krishna Murthy, to take time off and go cast a vote. A lesson that every vote counts. So Wakuba, please let your people go and vote on that day. Lastly, it worries me when Ruto tells us he will hold his last rally at Nyayo Stadium this Saturday, despite it not being available for use. Is this not inviting trouble? Will this disregard for rules be an indication of things to come next week? I want to call politicians to order.
Yes.
There should still be a great country called Kenya to speak of once we are done with this election.
It's beautiful. Today, I will address Kikuyus for the final time before we go to the polls on Tuesday. Dear Kikuyus, your days in power are over. Kalas. The last time power left the mountain was 44 years ago. The next time you will see political power will probably be in the next 30 years. Question is, what does this mean for Gema? I will shoot straight. Kikuyus, you are on your own. Your future is uncertain. And I say this for one reason. Whoever has controlled the levels of power since independence has favored their own ethnic community. It is a fact of history. When Jomo was president, 90% of his cabinet was Kikuyu. When Moi was president, there was a time when Joseph Kamodo was the only cabinet minister. When Kibaki was president, kitchen cabinet meetings were held in Kikuyu. In fact, by virtue of being in power for almost 60 years, Kikuyu and Kalenjin communities have controlled nearly 50% of all government jobs. In 1978, when Arab Moi took over, there were only 600 Kalenjins living in Nairobi. By the time he was leaving office, there were over 20,000 Kalenjins in the civil service. Enter Kibaki and Uhuru. For over 35 years, Kikuyus have dominated the civil service. In fact, for every 5 civil servants there, 2 are Kikuyu. But it's not just the ethnic composition of the civil service, it is the distribution of resources. Herein, I will only mention the roads Uhuru has built in central Kenya. While Kibaki built 85 kilometers in central, Uhuru, in just 9 years, has built 2,200 kilometers of road in central Kenya. This 2,200 kilometers is a total number of kilometers Mwai Kibaki built countrywide in his 10 years as president. In fact, for every 5 kilometers Uhuru has built countrywide, 1 kilometer was built in central Kenya. For the first time since independence, central Kenya has a road, the Mau Mau Road, 592 kilometers, connecting 4 counties of Kiambu, Murang'a, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and that's it. And that's not all. Uhuru has made sure the longest dual carriageway is in central Kenya. It is called the Kenol Marua Road. From next year, you will be able to travel from Nyeri to the airport, JKIA, without meeting an oncoming car. What's my point here? if for every 5 kilometers of road built countrywide, 1 kilometer has been built in central Kenya, it is because Uhuru loved his people more than others. Period. Raila would do the same, Ruto would do the same, as history has taught us.
That's right.
But the biggest blunder Yuki Kuyus made was shooting down BBI. It was your insurance policy that would have firewalled you against attacks by future regimes. Yuki Kuyus would have been Kenya's trust fund babies. If Gema had gotten extra seats in parliament, Gema MPs would control more than a third of parliament. There wouldn't be a single parliamentary motion that would pass without his say. But it wouldn't just be the control of parliament Gema would have had. 70 extra constituencies also meant Mount Kenya would have received an extra 7 billion shillings in CDF money alone. Now that's all lost. And that's not all. You Mount Kenya people have lost an extra 53 billion shillings every year to counties. In short, you just haven't lost your leverage in parliament. You have lost more than $500 billion shillings in the 10 years Raila or Ruto may be in power. Ida Ndwale will be giving bursaries to Garissa students to study at the University of Leeds in the UK. While Yuki Kuyus will be taking your kids to Embu Polytechnic. Very sad.
Wow. Tough choices that we made.
Yeah, absolutely. Utapeli wa William Ruto regarding Gashafua. Now, we have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Topical, speculative, repetitive, or groundbreaking, and thoughtful, or just plain lazy. I'm gravitating towards the star. Raila and Uhuru attack Ruto over rigging claim.
Yep,
You're
'cause I
Muzuri
think he's
kabisa.
behind this mischief.
That's
100%.
right, that's right. You said
Absolutely.
something earlier today, GK, that when you are guilty of something beforehand,
Yeah, you do the accusing before they accuse you to throw them
Precisely.
off.
Absolutely.
Whoever smelt it,
Dealt it.
dealt it.
That's it. Absolutely. Oh boy. Okay. So the Star gives us our winning headline. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also on your TV screens. Find us on Playing Free to Air, Go TV and Star Times. You can find me on TikTok at Maina wa Kagema.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Samasana.
On Twitter at Kmaina. On TikTok at Kanda Bongo.
Vote blue. All the best. Vote wisely. Think about your children.
Power is going to the lake.
Absolutely. It must. Have a good night, guys. God bless.